All right, good morning, guys. You guys should just finish up the do now question for the day. In your own words, explain what Maslow's hierarchy of needs is, as well as why you think that it is accurate or not. So, this should have been something that we covered before we had left. Some of you guys might have been here, some of you guys might not have been, so I'll just give you a quick overview again. So, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Basically, this guy, Maslow, decided that, hey, as human beings, we have a certain number of needs, whether they be basic needs, biological needs like food, water, shelter, but we also have like emotional and social needs as well, like this need to feel accepted by people, this need to be safe, this need to be accepted, this need to strive for things, and so lots of different ones. And he argued that if you don't take care of the most basic needs first, you can't hope to accomplish the higher ones. So, for example, with the first one being biological needs, if you don't have food, if you don't have water, if you don't have shelter, then you can't. That's really your main focus. You don't really have time of day to be worrying about a relationship when, hey, I don't even know if I'm going to eat today. I don't know if I'm going to eat tomorrow. That takes up all my attention. And so as these needs are satisfied one after the other, in theory, you move up this chain all the way up to number 5, which is self-actualization. So this idea that, hey, all my needs are taken care of, and now I have this need to grow, to learn more, to expand my knowledge, whatever it may be. So wherever you guys have, just make sure you have 4 or 5 sentences, get it written down. All right, so today is going to be kind of a continuation. I think it was like maybe 2 lessons ago when we last left off. We were talking about a number of different psychologists: Sigmund Freud, Karen Horney, and Carl Jung. So today is going to be kind of a continuation of those 3, and then we're going to actually add 2 more names to the list before we move on. So, first name we're going to discuss is a guy by the name of Alfred Adler. Alfred Adler. And so he had this idea of individual psychology. Whereas Freud had his, Karen Horney had hers, and Carl Jung had his, he's bringing something new to the table. So this idea that feelings of inferiority and a desire for power motivate human behavior. Whereas, if you remember back to Freud, he said that, hey, we're all driven by these natural urges, these natural tendencies, these instincts that we just have as humans, and all of our behavior is dictated by that. Where Adler is coming along and saying that, hey, that's not what motivates us. What motivates us is because, hey, we feel inferior to somebody else. It's kind of like that neighbor who's like, hey, I got to go out and buy a brand new lawnmower. I'm motivated to go buy a new one or to go earn a new one because he's got one. And because he's got something better than me, I might feel inferior to him. So I got to one up him. So it might be something like that. Or maybe a desire for power. So for whatever reason, if I feel like, hey, I'm not in control of my own life, okay, that's something I want. I want to be more powerful than the next person. I want to, be a big and bad person. I want to be in charge, whatever it may be. And so this motivates me to do things or to accomplish things. And so in addition to this, he also believed that people could grow beyond this idea of nature versus nurture. So something we discussed a little later, much earlier on in the course, the whole idea of, okay, I am who I am because of I was born this way, or I am who I am because of the people that were surrounding me, and kind of those being the only 2 choices. But he thought that we could, we could be beyond, we could grow beyond that. We could not just, be subjected to these 2 ideas. He thought there might be something more. And finally, he had this idea that people are motivated by goals and purpose as opposed to pleasures. So kind of going back to the individual psychology idea. Once again, where Freud suggests that, hey, we're motivated by these natural tendencies, these urges and whatnot. No, we're more advanced than that. We are a little bit more evolved than that, so to speak. So, like I said, just a different guy, a different way of looking at things. And like I said in the past, none of these are proved absolutely correct. These are all just kind of different ways of looking at the same picture. So, for just a minute, go ahead and pause this video. If you guys notice, right underneath Alfred Adler, there's a YouTube clip that's going to kind of give you some examples of maybe what he's discussing, and we'll get back to it in just a second. All right, so next up on our list, a guy by the name of Carl Rogers. So Rogers brought to the table this idea of something called humanistic psychology, whereas all people are born good and have the ability to make themselves happy. So he argues that from the get-go, nobody's inherently a bad person. Nobody's inherently just born with, hey, I want to hurt somebody, hey, I want to do something bad. He argues that, hey, we're all just naturally good. And we all have the ability to make ourselves happy, make ourselves feel fulfilled, to help ourselves. We don't necessarily need other people to do that for us. So he was examining human behavior from the perspective of the observer and the person being observed. So we talked about in the past how maybe two people sit down, maybe a therapist and maybe a patient. And so they're sitting down discussing, hey, what's going on, how are you feeling, so on and so forth. And he really believed that the person that's being assessed, the patient, should take an active role in their treatment or the research being done. And whereas the other person is just kind of there as a guide. They're not there to really tell them, hey, okay, here's the solution, do this, do this, do this. It's more of asking very general questions like, okay, what do you think about that? How do you think you should handle that situation? And so on and so forth. And so at the end of the day, it's the person being assessed for the patient who does the majority of the work and they kind of discover for themselves. And the therapist is really just there to facilitate that as opposed to giving them the secrets of the universe or something like that. So we've got one more clip down at the bottom on the description side, so go ahead and hit pause on this. Take a second, watch that clip, and we'll be back to it in just a second. All right, so that's going to do it for the notes for today. So quick exit slip, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Of the two videos that we watched over the two kind of different ways of approaching this topic or these topics, which one do you feel that is more accurate? Which one do you think really exemplified the concepts the best? So kind of two parts. So which of these two videos that you thought were the most accurate, the most realistic? And secondly, which one do you think is the most accurate? Which one do you think is the most plausible? So whatever you guys got, make sure you get it written down, get it turned in. Get any questions, write me a comment, write something in the comment below, and I'll be sure to answer as quickly as I can, or shoot me an email, and I'll see you next time.